All right, this just feels wild. So my dog just got into this like fight with the next door neighbor's dog, sort of. Basically, we have this reoccurring issue where the next door neighbors, who we share a fence with, they have a dog aggressive dog. Our dog is not, but she keeps reacting to that. Like, we see any dog on the sidewalk, she is not going to try to fight them. We've introduced her to other dogs. She just wants to play. She's a happy-go-lucky. So she has a healthy survival mechanism towards another dog that is trying to attack her. But basically, I was out there filming some content, just sitting in the grass with her, and the next door neighbors let their dog out, and they started fighting at the fence. And usually my girl is really good. I can just call her and she'll break from it, come to me, go in the house, usually not an issue. But because we had been so comfortable out there for so long, I was just sitting in the grass and filming, and it happened in a split second because their dog is really good about being in that like primal hunter mode. So it will sometimes, it depends, but if it hears us out there beforehand, it will run up to the fence really quietly, where other times it will slam into things. Like the dog is doing very primal behaviors for hunting and aggressive and attacks. But it slammed into the fence really hard, but it went from 0 to 60. And my dog went at the fence and they were chomping at each other through the fence. And both of our dogs are not small. Mine is about 55, and I think theirs is slightly bigger. Anyway, like their dog was really almost getting under the fence, and that dog has already broken multiple slats on the fence. And it was getting intense, and the wood was bending, and jaws were coming under, and she was going to respond, and she wasn't able to hear me in that moment. And so I screamed at the top of my lungs like a banshee. I also know this because my brother worked with a canine protection agency who trains attack Malinois dogs, like Belgian Malinois. So this is information I've had lodged in the back of my head for many years at this point, where dogs' noises, auditory noises can act as a pain point. So if you are in a dog's face and you scream at them as loud as you can, that's gonna hurt. So that's also can be a really helpful way to, especially if you're ever out in the open and a dog is running at you. I've actually used this before, where a dog was running at me to attack me and my little, because she is a snack. She's just a little snack. And I screamed as loud as I could at this dog that was launching at us, and it paused like that, the dog got taken aback by my scream, and that gave me enough time to pull my dog into a safe place. And then, so I have reps with using that. And so here today, when I wasn't close enough and they were literally getting to the point of someone was gonna leave bloody, and I wasn't able, the recall wasn't working. And so I screamed like a banshee at the top of my lungs, directed at the dogs. And the dog on the other side of the fence pulled back and looked up at me, and I got her, eye connection. And then I said my commands. I think I wasn't fully great in the situation. I think I told her to come. But I was right there. So she was kind of like, what? And then I have another command where I say, let's go. And that means we're walking away, and for her to come with me to literally let's go. And so I started walking towards the house, and she listened to the let's go command. I got her in the house. Little was also out there. Thank God she didn't join in, because we've had our Husky Shepherd mix since I've known her since the day she was born. But my little, I didn't get her until she was 8. So we don't have all of the commands in the little sausage dog as well. So I was really happy that she didn't join in, because there has been times in the past where the little sausage dog does not have the same recall. So that was wild. But so that was the dog fight. And I came back inside. I regulated myself. I used my tools. I used some breathing practices, sitting on the ground, like all of the tools I know to get myself to come back to a place of stability, to like using all of my somatic practices in real time. Also, I was literally on a live on Instagram when this happened. So I'm like spitting truths and like all intellectual. And here I am like talking coaching concepts and talking about my journey as an entrepreneur and the struggles and the real time. And like, I was like, it was like good shit. And then like it went from, like I said, and then all of a sudden dog fight, and I still was live when this happened. And then we get inside and I like realize there's a phone in my hand and I'm like, oh my God, I'm still live. And so I like meet myself in the moment. I regulate myself in real time on the live. I come down. I actually get to like explain it a little bit. But then I got off the live and then I came to sit down. I had the puppies come and cuddle me and we just like co-regulated together. We navigated it in a moment where I let myself calm down, and then I was able to start processing. And what's super interesting is that we all have patterns inside of us that happen. And one of my patterns is we talk about everyone loves talking about the nervous system: fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. So fawn is that sociological one. It's the one that's in mammals. And it's literally a survival response for social situations. That's all it is. I mean, it's a lot, but if we simplify it. So I noticed that I was starting to have a fawn response. I started having, and I'm still navigating this, I'm feeling shame. I'm feeling like, oh no, like the relationship with the next door neighbors. I just screamed like a crazy person. Like, then I'm like wondering, did I overreact? Did I underreact? Should I reach out to them? Should I talk to them? And I can start to notice by having awareness of the thought pattern, because my thought pattern will have very specific phrases that will come up. Oh no, like, well, oh man, what are they gonna think? They were out there and they heard me scream like that. Oh my God, right? And so this activates some other core wounds in me that are then coming up in this certain way. And I don't have to do anything with them, right? That's kind of the part of this that I think people don't talk about. People talk about these responses: fight, flight, freeze, fawn. We constantly talk about them, but we don't say what to do with them. What are you supposed to do? Well, wow, that was like a crazy good example of this, because I was in a place of ease. I was in communication, my ventral vagal state. Then I was like connecting and communicating and feeling into myself and talking to my community. And then something happened. There was a trigger, which activated. A trigger just means that something started. There was and what happened was I had a moment of orienting. So this orienting response, which just means assessing. So I was like, my dog's barking. There's noise at the fence. I hear their dog barking. And then what happened was that my biological brain kicked in. So then my rational thinking brain turned off completely. I had no access to rational logical thought, because what happened is that my body and brain mobilized me into action. So my brain, the computer, said, you don't need that function anymore. Put it out over here. We only need you to act to keep your physical self and the physical safety of your loved one, your gorgeous, beautiful, perfect little baby, safe. So I went into fight, which is to run over, right? What does a fight response look like? Not everything that gets your heart racing is a fight response. My fight response was literally enacted where I physically moved towards the issue in order to stop it, to create more safety. So I ran over with full intention of grabbing my dog, and if I needed to punch or kick that other dog in order to separate or whatever, right? I had only the amount of logic and assessment necessary online in my brain in order to meet the situation. That was it. I forgot that I had a phone in my hand. That wasn't important information. I didn't have access to the thought that I was on a live. That wasn't important information because I had to act. That was my fight response. And then the second that I screamed, also my scream was a fight response. I threw energy, right? I threw sound. That was me throwing a punch, even if it was an auditory punch at this dog. And then once there was a detanglement, then my body said, get away, get away from this right now. Get everything out, everyone to safety. That was my flight response. So I managed to grab that dog. I located both of my dogs, went to the door, opened it, got them inside. And then I took a moment when I came inside. I looked around, I double checked. We have both dogs here. I noticed that I then looked around my whole room because my brain was still in activation mode and it was scanning to make sure that I was safe. Because your eyes are actually, when you're a little baby and you're developing in the womb, your eyes actually grow out of your brain. It's wild. So my eyes, part of that brain, part of my nervous system said, is everything okay? Are we safe? Are there any more threats in here? And then when that was done, all of a sudden, oh my God, I was on a live. Okay. And so I picked my phone back up and I was like, hi, hello everyone. And then I was able to slowly communicate what I was going through in that moment. I was able to slowly be like, I even had a hard time telling people what was happening in my body because my body was slowly giving me access to the rational thinking assessment brain again. And so I was like, my heart's pounding, I'm tingling. And then a flood of emotions started coming up because the emotions weren't helpful when I was in the activation, but it didn't mean they didn't happen. So they got like backlogged so that then when I was safe, I could then feel the emotions. And then I wanted to cry. I all of a sudden started feeling scared post-event because feeling scared wasn't helpful. That my nervous system determined that being scared wasn't going to get me safe or my dog safe. So I didn't feel fear or panic actually until after the event finished. And then I stayed with the emotions. I did my breathing practice. I didn't try to stop feeling scared or stop feeling my heart racing or stop feeling the wobbling in my legs. I let it happen. And then because I let it happen, it went away faster. My body actually processed it because I didn't repress it. Because the things that we feel and the experiences we go through do not disappear. They stay there until they're flushed out. And then, like I said, it wasn't until after I calmed down and like came back to a little bit more regulation that I was like, whoa, there's even more stuff under here that I haven't felt. And that's when like this thing now of like feeling almost like guilty about how I was out there, even though, right, it's not irrational. It's not a logical thought. Like, and I could trace that back to the intelligence of feeling worried about my neighbor's experience, because we could get into how we're biologically built for community. And back when we were a little bit more in like smaller tribes and communities that relied on each other for safety and to stay alive, like let's say that neighbor goes and tells 6 other neighbors that, wow, that girl was crazy. She overreacted. And then I get labeled the outcast, the person who overreacted, right? Even though I could have reacted perfectly fine in that situation, right? I actually, through my banshee scream that I'm having feelings about, that actually solved the situation. And my scream was actually the safest recourse for both animals. I didn't put my hands in front of the dogs' mouths. But because I'm worried about the social repercussions of my expression of how I got us safe, right? That could possibly create more social issues, which then could ostracize me or alienate me from the tribe. And so my biological brain is saying, oh no, like if they don't understand it or they have feelings and they freak out about how I reacted, then I could get excommunicated from the tribe, which biologically would mean I could die, because in the past, from the past, we needed tribe to survive. I mean, we still do now. I don't have a farm. I don't have my own animals. I actually rely on the greater cultural community for my clean water, right? So there is still a part of me. He just had to walk behind me. So there is still a part of me that does rely on social. Now, I don't rely on that neighbor specifically. However, right, there are legitimate fears, like shit, like what if someone gets someone involved? What if someone gets an authority involved? What if, even though their dog is the aggressive dog and mine isn't, what if they called the authorities on me? And that could be a threat to the survival of my family and my dog, right? So this is the thing, that people pleasing, that fear that's coming up for me around the situation has roots in a very valid worries and fears and biological imperatives. So I think this was just a great example to explain it. I don't need any advice. We have dog trainers and things that we're working with. Like, we got us. And this is just a really fucking perfect lifetime moment of explaining and talking about how this nervous system stuff is every day. It's from the moment we wake up and through sleeping, actually. It's 24 hours, 365 days a year that our nervous system is online, working, serving, and protecting us. And not always in ways that we rationally understand until we pull at the threads of it. So this was just a perfect example to talk about all of it in real time. And also filming this right now is also helping me come back to myself, come back to connection, connecting back to myself and understanding that there's nothing bad, wrong, or broken about me, that I am just being human, and also bringing this loving awareness to myself and noticing the parts and strategies of my beliefs and patterns and behaviors and nervous system. Then I can start to become empowered, because then I can start to take conscious steps to hopefully reduce or stop more things like that from happening. And then also being like, wow, I can understand the reasons of why I acted that way. And then I can have more compassion for myself, which means I'll be more grounded. So that, guess what? When I need to go over and have a conversation with my neighbors, that I will have processed some of the anxiety so that I don't bring anxiety to that conversation with them. Then I can communicate with my community. Community. And because I want to bring compassion to them. Hey, like, can you talk to me? Like, can you tell me what's going on with you? Like, it seems like we're both struggling with our dogs in this fence. So if I can show up in a way of curiosity and compassion with them, and not, your dog, you're terrible, then I'm just the dog at the fence. And now I'm just putting more of that energy into it. That's not going to solve it. Those dogs fighting at the fence is not solving the dog's issue. So if I do that, then I'm just another dog at the fence. I want to be conscious and empowered and solution oriented in a way that I'm like, I care about you, and I do care about their dog. I want their dog to not feel that way, because I bet that's actually not great for their dog. It's not great for my dog either. And I care about my neighbor, even though this is an inconvenient situation coming up. That was scary. And I want to create a world where we get to move forward and solve problems together in community and not stay in this isolation. Because that really matters to me. This is me creating the world that I want to live in by meeting myself first, and then I can go meet others.